Jalen Hurts is, man, he is a breath of fresh air. He's like, okay, you want to say I got to compete? He's going to go compete. No, he doesn't really have to, but um, I just find it very, very refreshing.
On an almost daily basis. Yeah, they give us the weekends off, but we're thinking birds. I can pretty much assure you that on Saturdays and Sundays, too. I am Jody McDonald. He would be my partner, John McMullen. How are you this morning, Mr. Mac?
Doing well. A little fired up, Jody.
A little fired up. Why would you be fired up?
I got in a little, Twitter. I should go Shander's route. Eitan Shander. Tuned into the middle, by the way, here on JAKIB Media. He points out the absurdity of Twitter.
Absurdity? I got to tell you, Jody, what? Yeah. Twitter is absurd? Yeah. Are you trying to tell me Twitter is absurd?
I am trying to tell you that. Now, I'm not going to go as far as Eitan. Eitan gets into the conspiracies, the algorithms, and all that nonsense. He's got the foil hat. I'm not going to go that far. I'm just trying to enjoy my night. I see there's going to be a potential historic no-hitter in Major League Baseball, the first in 24 hours, I believe.
Yes.
But, as I was explaining to you off air, I'm an old school guy. If I hear a no-hitters going on, I want to see the end. And it was Corey Kluber, see if he could finish it out. He did. But in between, with the launch angles, nobody puts the ball in play. You're a big baseball guy. Baseball's not as fun. I used to be a huge baseball guy. I am really depressed on the way that sport has gone, the direction it's gone in. But that's a whole nother show. Maybe we'll get another show to talk about that.
Gotcha.
So I'm on Twitter in between, trying to watch the game, and I'll say, well, I'll engage. There's this sort of pseudo personnel guy I always go back and forth with, really intelligent. And I mentioned, Andre Dillard. Because the Eagles made a move at left tackle yesterday, not left tackle, swing tackle. They brought in LaRaven Clark, who's, a backup player. But you start thinking, the wheels start going. What's going on here? And I've mentioned in the past, and we're going to have a Trenches Day today on the show with Barrett Brooks and Hollis Thomas. So we got both sides of the football. But, what does this mean? I'm trying to figure out. And it certainly looks. And it could be just like a Tim Tebow. And by the way, happy Tim Tebow. I'm going all over the place. He finally signed with Jacksonville. Ooh. It might just be, Clark is coming off a torn Achilles. He's got a relationship with Nick Sirianni. Maybe he's just doing him a solid, bringing him in on the 90-man bloated offseason roster, saying, okay, maybe you can open the eyes of somebody else. But on paper, it doesn't look like the Eagles need a tackle, unless they're thinking about trading Andre Dillard. And then I went down the road of, I still think Andre's going to be the better player long-term than Jordan Mailata. Oh, Jody, I broke the fourth wall. I'm insane.
You're going to crush.
Oh, my God. This poor kid, he was going to be the starting left tackle last year. No questions about it. And he tore his biceps. Look, we know the stuff in the first year. The picture of him crying on the field, which these people will not let die. And it's I can tell you inside, they don't give a you-know-what about that. That is long. That is water under the bridge. Now, they were legitimately upset about him not sort of trying to fight through the move to right tackle. That was like a big thing in the organization. They would have preferred, because you look over the years, Halapula Bati, even Matt Pryor, who had to play left tackle, he's more comfortable on the right. They don't like moving either, Jody, but they fight through it. Right. And it's ugly at times, but they fight through it. And that's what they wanted to see from Andre Dillard. So by no means am I saying this guy's going to be a star. This guy's definitive. I think he's got a higher ceiling than Jordan Mailata. Jeff Stoutland has talked to me a bunch about his natural ability as a pass protector. He's got to get stronger. We got to see if he's done that. All that kind of stuff. You add in all the context. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. I mean, they have closed the book on this poor guy. And I mentioned it with Nate Gary the other day. There's certain players that they just pull the plug on and they're done. They're dead. And there's other players. You brought up, one of them yesterday, Greg Ward. And I know you want to get into that at some point. I mean, there's certain players they love. And if you say anything bad about, you are a lunatic. I don't get it. And I tell these people, and I'm telling them right now on everywhere, go to eagles.com if you want smoke blown up your ass, because we're not going to do it here. We're going to tell you the truth. There it is, Joe.
I appreciate the fact that you're starting us off with a little emotion today, J-Mac. Thank you very much for that. And I have learned, I spend way too much time on Twitter every day. I honestly do. It almost should be like eating too much sugar. I should know when to pull back, and I don't. And shame on me for that. But the one thing that I have learned is don't engage.
Yeah,
I just if I tweet and somebody responds to me, okay, fine, that's your opinion. I already stated my opinion. If you don't like it, what can I do? I don't grab the keyboard again and start the back and forth, because yes, that's a rabbit hole you don't need to go down. You don't want to go down. I'll say a couple times a month, somebody will say something so outrageous or so blatantly wrong that I'll feel the need to correct them on Twitter, that I didn't say that. Wait a minute. What are you talking about? Maybe twice a month. That's it. Because if I wanted to do it on a day in, day out basis, every time somebody disagreed with something or responded to something that I said or tweeted, I'd never get off Twitter. I wouldn't have time to do Birds 365 or any of my radio shows. No shot, no chance.
Yeah, it's definitely my fault. And at the end, you just mute the person. That's why. Why did I spend 20 minutes going back and forth with some moron with 15 followers? I don't know. Sometimes, and I blame the game because I'm like, okay, you're trying to do something in between pitches. We got the short attention span culture. You're right. You just got to put the phone down. Twitter isn't paying me. Birds 365 is paying me.
Right.
Billy Boys Sports Illustrated. And then you get these people like, you don't put something, you don't break news on Twitter. Well, guess what? Twitter's not paying me. The other people are paying me. So we got to save stuff for them.
Couldn't agree with you more that way. That's why I don't tweet that much. I can sit here and tweet stuff out all day, but no. I get paid for my opinion, and I'm going to give it to the people who pay me, not the people who don't pay me, like you guys out there on Twitter. So I don't tweet all that much, but I do pay attention to what's going on Twitter on a day in, day out basis. But I have trained myself not to engage, to just take it in, smile, laugh, roll my eyes, rather than grab that keyboard. And
I got to get to that point, Jody. See, Zen. I always say the smartest people in the world know what they don't know. And I know that, but too often you fall into that rabbit hole. And, you have everybody. That's the problem with Twitter. Everybody's entrenched and they think they know everything, Jody.
I'm not surprised that that's.
I mean, you just muted yourself, Jody, if you can hear me.
I gotta learn when to mute and when I'm not muted.
Yeah.
We've got a good show planned for you. As John already told you, Brandon Brooks is going to join us about 8:20.
Barrett Brooks. I go that's difficult because you always want to say Brandon Barrett.
Barrett Brooks. Barrett Brooks will join us coming up in about 10 or 15 minutes from now. And then Hollis Thomas, scheduled to be on at 9:20. Now, Hollis a little bit. I've done shows with Hollis. Hollis is just stone cold fun. Hanging out with Hollis Thomas is fun. You don't have to be on the air to have fun with Hollis Thomas. Hollis Thomas is just fun, period. I'm going to put the under-over that Hollis will be here at about 68%.
I'm going 80. 89%.
Okay, you're more confident than I am. There's a 32% chance that Hollis is not going to show up.
Xander, what are you putting the percentage on? Did he confirm? We need to hear that. I'm trying to get Xander to pop on here one day. I think we can create a star in Xander Crowell.
Xander could be a potential star.
Yeah, but he won't pop on. He won't pop on. I want to see him pop on.
He's a star at what he does. I don't know if we.
Xander's giving me 55%.
55, yeah. See,
I'm way less confident now.
He's less confident. You're more confident. That's
but that just shook my confidence. Is what I'm saying.
Now your confidence.
Now I got to rethink my confidence.
All right. Hey, wait a minute. We're getting far afield of what we do here every day, which is talk about the Eagles. And oh, by the way, before you ever went on Twitter last night waiting for a Corey Kluber no-hitter, you had activity and work to do during the day. And that was including talking to one Jalen Hurts, little media availability for the Eagles quarterback. See, I didn't say starting quarterback because the Eagles don't want to call him the starting quarterback, even though we all know he's the starting quarterback. He's all in for competition, and you let him right down that primrose path, McMullen. You had him throwing out one-liners after you got the chance to start yesterday's press briefing.
Yeah, Jalen's great with the one-liners. Jalen, we were talking about that a little bit as well before the show. He's just got every intangible to be successful at this position. And, I love it. I think it's funny, the Eagles aren't rolling out Joe Flacco. This is first day of phase 2 of OTAs. And here's your menu, Jody. Jason Kelce, Brandon Graham, and the main event is Jalen Hurts. Yeah, but he's not the starting quarterback. Right. I think it's absurd. But, I was Ricky Henderson. I was leading off. You got to ask the question. And I asked him, do you think this team is committed to you? Because they haven't named you the starting quarterback, and he's just really good in these types of situations. And I'm always impressed by him. His pulse level is just so even. He's so even keeled. He understands how to do it. He understands how to deal with it. He went through it at Alabama with Tua. So he understands this competition thing. He understands, as he describes it, the rent needs to be paid every day, doesn't plan on missing any rent payments. Then at the end, we're hungry. We're not going to be missing any meals. He's just really good getting in there, punctuating a point. And I think it's a breath of fresh air. And I'm writing about this, and it'll be on phillyboys.com this morning, Jody. If you look at this offseason in the NFL and all these prima donnas, starting with Aaron Rodgers, who, is a superstar. They're all superstars. Even Carson Wentz at one point was a superstar. Russell Wilson thinking he should be involved in personnel decisions. Aaron Rodgers the same way. Deshaun, even before the issues, he wanted to say who the coach should be and the GM should be. I mean, these guys are nuts, their egos at this point. And even Carson Wentz here getting upset that the Eagles took a second-round pick on a quarterback to a little bit of a lesser extent. But nonetheless, I put that in the same category as well.
Sure.
Jalen Hurts he is a breath of fresh air. He's like, okay, you want to say I got to compete? He's going to go compete. Now, he doesn't really have to, but I just find it very, very refreshing.
Right. You have to compete against the other team, right? Every single Sunday, you're asked to compete. You go out and compete against the opposition. Why can't you do that Monday through Saturday, too? And work hard at it and not have it handed to you and be able to dictate terms in your life on every. Go out and just get it done. Compete. And that's exactly the attitude that he showed yesterday. Yeah, I really do like this. I want him to succeed badly. My offseason with the Eagles in the quarterback position. I was hoping that they drafted Justin Fields. I think he's going to be a star quarterback in this league. They chose not to. They took Devonta Smith, so I can't complain about what they did on draft night because they got themselves a superstar just at a different position. But this is the kind of kid you want to root for. You have faith in.
Yeah, he is. And as I said, this is the modern environment. I mean, this is where we are, Jody. It's not just the NFL. You see it in the NBA. Superstars have that, whether you want to call it entitlement. Um, and really, the poster child is probably Rodgers. We know about the NBA. You got guys, deciding where they're going to go, what city, bringing in players, how much power they have in that sport. Look, the toothpaste is out of the tube, and that's why it is so refreshing when you get a player who is a little bit of old school net mentality. You're right; it's a competitive sport anyway. One thing Nick Sirianni, although I think his competition mantra is nonsense, I've said it pretty consistently. One thing I agree with him with is he mentioned himself and Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon. And by the way, I expect to talk to the coordinators for the first time today, so I'm excited about that. But he said we're competing, because if we don't succeed, we're going to get fired. I mean, I mentioned it earlier, the old Bum Phillips quote. There's two kinds of coaches: them that's hired, them that's fired. Ultimately, everybody has a shelf life, so everybody's competing, whether it's in-house or out of house. And that seems to be the way Jalen Hurts approaches his job. And that's not the case. Everybody else wants, you better build up around me. You better put me in the personnel decisions. You better do this for me. You better do that for me. It's where we are, but it's not, it's not fun for me. I don't think it's fun for most fans when players act like prima donnas.
And it gets very frustrating if it's a player that you happen to be a huge fan of and you root for the team and he's been your guy and all of a sudden he's trying to talk his way out of town. Yeah, it gets really tough on not only the organization, but the fan base here in town. You mentioned Nick Sirianni, and shame on me, I missed this almost 2 weeks ago. When a new president takes office, we all talk all the time about the first 100 days, that the first 100 days is key. What can you achieve in your first 100 days in office? Well, we missed Nick Sirianni's first 100 days. And I don't know about you, but I count from the day that Sirianni did his first press conference. It leaked out a little bit earlier. Then the Eagles confirmed it. But for me, the Nick Sirianni era started here in Philadelphia the day of his first press conference, which was 113 days ago. So we've come and gone with the 100-day mark of the Nick Sirianni era. And to tell you what kind of a symmetrically balanced day it is today, it was 113 days ago that Nick Sirianni was introduced. What happens 113 days from today, John McMullen?
Well, I would say this: the second 113 days is a hell of a lot important than the first 113 days. Unfortunately, I like where you're going with the analogy, but the first 100 days when you're a head coach in the NFL, to be honest, are not all that meaningful because of the calendar and where you are in the season. He couldn't even get to his players. His first time on the field with the players was rookie camp, which was last Friday. So maybe we should go 100 days from last Friday and see what goes on with this particular team. And obviously that's going to take you into training camp and all that. But I hear what you're saying. Look, there's some positive. We've talked about it. Tremendous energy. Jason Kelsey seems to have bought in Brandon Graham, the veteran players, but that's what they do. They're professionals. And that I'll tell you, I was impressed with Jalen Hurts yesterday. Now, can he do it on the field? That's the bigger part of it. But he's got every single intangible you need to succeed. Unfortunately, Jody, we're in the era of analytics of sports. So people tend to throw intangibles into the dustbin.
Yes, intangibles are good for coaches and in locker rooms, but you got to win by performing on the field. You win all the press conferences you want. You got to win football games. But just in case you didn't pick up, 113 days from now is the first game of the Nick Sirianni era. So it's been 113 days since we first got to meet him. We have to wait 113 days before we get a true result. because all the talk, all the rock, paper, scissors, all the energy doesn't much matter if you can't find a way to win. And I think the game in Atlanta is actually winnable. And we got 113 days to figure it out. We've got a couple of minutes to get ready for an appearance here on the show. Barrett Brooks going to hop aboard. We've been doing a connection with the middle all week. We had Eitan Shander earlier. We had Harry Mays yesterday. We saved the best for last. The creme de la creme. Barrett Brooks joins us next here on Birds
If
3.
you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.